Good afternoon, everyone. Just waiting for all these lovely students to drop in. I think we have everybody here. So good afternoon and welcome to session 5, Climate Action's Youth Voices. I'm Karen Cowe, CEO of 10 Strands, a California nonprofit focused on climate and environmental literacy in K-12 schools. I'm very grateful to Dr. Ramanathan for championing this session and for recognizing climate literacy as a vital part of the MAST framework. When I first met Ram in 2018, he spoke about the urgent need for climate warriors. In Greek mythology, Athena emerged fully formed and ready for battle from Zeus's head. In the real world, young people don't become climate leaders overnight. They need education, support, and opportunities to develop the knowledge and skills to take meaningful action. Climate change is already reshaping our world. That's why we're here. And innovation, not just in technology, but in education and society, is key to real progress. Even the best climate solutions will fail if people aren't prepared to adopt them. We saw this during the pandemic. Scientific breakthroughs alone weren't enough. Social resistance slowed their impact. The same is true for climate action. That's why investing in climate education is just as critical as investing in climate science and technology. You'll hear today from 6 students from 6th grade to university, each sharing their climate moment, the spark that led them to act. Imagine their energy, commitment, and creativity multiplied across California's education system to the 6 million plus students in it. What if every student had the knowledge and opportunity to lead on this issue? This session was designed by our student panelists, and it was an honor for me to work with them. They will speak in order of grade level, followed by a Q&A, and Professor Marianne Wolf from the Pontifical Academy of Science will, followed by Q&A that Professor Marianne Wolf from the Pontifical Academy of Science will facilitate. With that, let's begin. Please welcome our first speaker, 6th grade student, Grace Pérez Mancusi. So over to you, Grace.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes a todos. My name is Grace Pérez Mancusi. I am a 6th grader at UCLA Lab School, and it is an honor to be here today representing elementary students. Since I was 4 years old at UCLA Lab School, we have actively participated in sustainable practices such as recycling and composting, gardening, and climate change rallies. I have also been a Girl Scout since 2018, and my troop and I focus on climate challenges. For example, last year we addressed the cardboard waste situation by making reusable coffee cup sleeves and placing them in local coffee shops, giving people an alternative. I have traveled across 4 continents, and these experiences have allowed me to witness firsthand how climate change impacts our planet. One of my climate moments was swimming in French Polynesia, and I noticed many corals were dying. The local people told me that this was because of ocean pollution and the water temperatures getting too hot. This means that the sea life that lives in these ecosystems is suffering. This made me feel really sad. Since then, we have decided to help by adopting coral and assisting organizations like coral gardeners to plant more coral, restore the reefs, and do more research. Since we've recently experienced fires here in California, I'm worried about the future of our ocean, given the pollution that the fires and other natural disasters have caused. We need to work together, kids and adults, to come up with a solution to save our oceans. My goal is to reach as many elementary school students as possible and get them involved because we will inherit this planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. And now, Willem, over to you.
Hi, I'm Willem, and I'm a 6th grader at the UCLA Lab School. I think I sit here with most people in California thinking about the recent fires that we had to go through. It was a very scary moment for me, and especially those who had to flee from their homes. I asked my parents, are we safe? And I'm sure other kids were wondering the same. They told me that we were, but it was hard to believe it because just when I thought it couldn't get worse, a new fire would pop up. I was worried about my friends and kept wondering what is going to happen next. I felt like there was nothing I could do. It was the most hopeless feeling. While some people had been prepared to evacuate, I have friends who had to flee with just minutes to spare. After the fires, some couldn't return to their homes because of smoke and ash, but others sadly couldn't return because they don't have a home anymore. I sat for a long time thinking to myself, how could that night have gone differently? And the only thing that came to my mind was that we have to do better with preventing fires from starting in the first place, and at the very least, we need to contain them in their absolute earliest stages. Prevention is ideal, but how fast we can respond is a must. The other day, my mom and I were driving to school, and while we were listening to the radio, we heard a story about a high school student named Ryan Honoré who created an AI-driven wildfire detection system that uses a sensor network and machine learning to provide instant alerts to firefighters. Right now, this tech is being used in Orange County. If they think it's useful there, what's stopping other fire departments from implementing this technology? My final proposal is to make sure we have ways where information is being shared with everybody. Solutions can help, but as long as it's not shared, how can people benefit from it?
Thank you very much, Willem. And now we're moving to middle school grades. So Zachary Fox-DeVol will take us there. Thank you, Zachary.
Thanks, Kieran. Hello, everybody. My name is Zach. I'm in 7th grade at Westside Neighborhood School. It's an honor to be here. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be part of the CRC2 initiative, which brings together leaders, policymakers, educators, and young activists like myself to work towards protecting our environment. As a 13-year-old who has grown up appreciating California's natural beauty, I'm deeply concerned about the future of our environment. Since I was 5, I've visited many of California's state and national parks, including Muir Woods, Redwood, Sequoia, and Yosemite. These experiences have made me grateful to live in California and highlighted the importance of protecting these parks. I've witnessed significant changes in our local ecosystems throughout my life. The recent fires, fueled by climate change and erratic weather patterns, caused significant damage in Southern California. Since the fires, we've had a friend staying with us who lost her home in the Palisades. Witnessing this disaster up close has been genuinely eye-opening, and it has made me realize how real and immediate the impacts of climate change are on people we know and care about. Growing up, I noticed many conversations about climate change didn't include kids, the very people who will inherit this planet. I started my podcast, We the Children, Kids Talk Climate Change, to get kids involved in these critical conversations. In the podcast, I interview experts about the climate crisis, the importance of sustainability, and the actions we can take to make a difference. Outside of my podcast, I participate in beach cleanups, care for gardens, and visit schools to share my experiences and discuss the importance of taking actionable steps towards environmental stewardship. When I was 11, I met Dr. Jane Goodall, who spoke about collective action to save our planet. This motivated me to start a project at my school. My friends and I wrote action steps for busy families in our weekly school-wide newsletter, suggesting activities like proper recycling, meal prepping to reduce waste, and composting. Taking this small action helped me and my friends feel that we could make a difference. Now, 3 seasons into We the Children, the core message still remains. We all need to take action now. I've interviewed amazing people like Heather White, who discuss managing eco-anxiety by focusing on climate solutions, and educators Eve Fine and Jeremy Caballero, who emphasize engaging children in climate change through practical, problem-solving methods in schools like school gardens. Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson also shared insights on climate justice, stressing that the climate impacts are not distributed equally around the globe. As part of our 3rd season, I'm collaborating with an educator to develop a climate toolkit that complements my podcast. This toolkit will provide practical resources and activities to help listeners apply what they learn. While my goal is for this curriculum to be used in classrooms throughout the state, my bigger priority is to see more schools adopt climate education in their programs. One teacher in Ohio found my podcast so impactful that she integrated it into her curriculum. She asked for her 5th grade students to listen and then send postcards discussing their favorite episodes. These messages remind me that inspiring young people to act and discuss important issues is crucial. To build a global community dedicated to environmental responsibility, we must begin with our schools. Enhancing climate education in schools will give students the skills and information to confront climate change and motivate them to create and execute solutions. When every school encourages students to become stewards of the environment, we can create a healthier planet, more sustainable cities, and a brighter future for everyone. Again, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Zach. And now we're going to move on to high school, and Ananya Gupta is representing that grade band. Ananya?
Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. I'm Ananya Gupta, and I'm a junior in high school. And I'd like to start by asking everyone a question. How many of you have heard that my generation is going to be the one to fix this problem? I'm assuming a lot of you have. But who has also heard of climate solutions beyond recycling and composting that my generation can implement? See, that's the problem. We're told that there's a crisis, but rarely are we given steps forward. And what this leads to is the kids in my generation not being engaged. I want to quickly tell you a story. Last year, I went to UCLA's elementary school and ran an activity about climate change and solutions. It was going incredibly well, and then one girl came up to present her solution and said, "Why are we even trying? The world is going to die anyways." And so I decided to run a survey of over 200 high school students in California. And I found that students actually know quite a lot about climate change, but they're not really motivated to take action. One student summed it up. They said, "Climate change is the largest problem for humanity, just not the largest problem for me." And I saw this disengagement directly in biology class with my peers who had all tapped out for two reasons. Either because they saw climate change as purely a STEM problem, or they were experiencing eco-anxiety, and my teachers weren't equipped to deal with it, and so my peers found it easier to turn their heads the other way. And it was then that I understood the extent to which a doomsday lens had penetrated my generation. And from all this, I realized two things. The first is that we need all kids. And when I say that, I don't just mean the ones interested in technology, but all kids. The ones interested in government, in policy, in mental health, and more. And the second is that we need solutions. And I became interested in the effectiveness of solutions-based climate education after joining a UCSD lab led by Professor Mishra to study how college kids reacted to solutions-based climate education. And when I saw the positive effects, I started to wonder why this type of education wasn't available for high school students. And so now that I've shared what I've learned, I'd like to tell you about what I'm doing. I aim to educate and empower youth based on interdisciplinary solutions through something I created called Intersections. It is a 2-week solutions and wellness-based climate education course for high schoolers by high schoolers. I wanted to create something that would cater to all interests, and so regardless of a kid's passions, I wanted them to take away that they have a role to play in this solution. To achieve this, I curated my course off of the University of California Bending the Curve course, which was developed by Professor Ramanathan and Professor Foreman in partnership with over 25 faculty from all 10 UC campuses. Additionally, after experiencing my peers' lost on how to handle general anxiety about climate change and more personal impacts after the fires hit Los Angeles in the past month, I am now working to incorporate a bigger emphasis on mental health by creating a mental health module that will feature a spectrum I am creating with my wellness educator to help high schoolers pinpoint exactly how they are feeling and then receive targeted help. This course is being incorporated into the curricula at Geffen Academy, my high school, and we will be piloting this course with over half of the sophomore class this spring. Additionally, I have been working with LAUSD, which is the biggest school district in California and the second biggest in the United States. As a part of this, I am bringing my high school Geffen and LAUSD together to host a workshop for high school teachers that will cover the content in my course and provide a space for teachers to connect about what they are doing to provide climate education in the classrooms. I've been really fortunate to work with some incredible mentors and participate in 10 Strand CYCP program, which has connected me to a network of peers across California. My aim is to reach every high school student in California with this course, to show them that there is a crisis, but there are also paths forward and that they have a role to play, one that is just as critical as the next governor, mayor, scientist, and policymaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ananya. And now moving on to Andrew Rodriguez. Andrew's representing the community college sector today. So over to you, Andrew.
Yes, thank you so much, Karen. And I first would like to say how incredibly impressed I am by everyone on the panel with me, all those who spoke before me, and Bella, who will speak after me. They are so incredible, and I'm so honored to be metaphorically beside them on this stage today. So now on to me. Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Rodriguez, and I'm a student at West Los Angeles Community College. I am patiently awaiting college admission decisions to see which four-year university I will attend, where I'll pursue my degree in mathematics with a focus on education. I've lived in Los Angeles all 23 years of my life, and I've loved every second of it. I truly believe that it is the greatest city in the world. Unless I meet you in a different program or a different meeting, then whichever city you're from, that's always been my favorite. In preparation for this event, I was told to relive my moment, the single moment that made me a climate activist. Growing up in LA, there are so many I can choose from, but the most vivid memory I have that inspires me to this day is the picture of trees. Growing up, my family didn't have much money. We were a low-income POC family with a history and neighborhood haunted by gang violence. So for Halloween, my friends and I would go to rich neighborhoods with the prospect of full-size candy bars. What remained with me from those excursions was not just the cavities, but the giant trees in front of each giant house. Their beauty shocked me as a child, but I couldn't help but notice the absence of these trees in my own neighborhood. Back then, I just thought we were too cool for them. Now that I'm older and have learned so much through my time in school, I know the benefits that trees bring. Cooler temperatures, better air quality, and overall better mental health. If such a simple addition to a neighborhood could add so much, why didn't we? Or more specifically, why didn't our government? It's not fair to ask those who are struggling to fix the issues caused by the wealthy. 50% of world emissions come from the richest 10%, most of which are Americans. All I'm asking for is some trees. I have been given the honor to represent all community college students of California, and what an honor that is. Community college is where you meet the real people going to school, the mothers, the first-generation college students, the elderly, or the people trying to pivot their career in a different direction. It's where you meet the next-up guardian scholars who grew up in the foster care system, or the rising scholars who are formerly incarcerated students trying to turn their lives around. You can meet the dreamers who are currently undocumented students pursuing a higher education. It's a place that connects academia to the community. I'm proud to say that I've spent my time at community college giving back to the community. At West LA, I work for the California Center for Climate Change Education, or the Center for short, which was established by California Assembly Bill 1913 and Upward Bound. Both programs focus on assisting the underrepresented communities of Los Angeles. At the center, I've been able to help students from a similar background as myself get into their four-year universities and the blue and green workforce. I have been able to adapt the curriculum of multiple subjects to include aspects of climate change and talk to community members one-on-one, listening to what affects them the most. Also at the center, I've been able to work with incredible institutions like Eclipse out of UC Irvine, which focuses on climate literacy projects, and the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, which is leading the charge in innovative clean tech solutions. I've also worked with Youth Climate Strike LA and the Sunrise Movement, both of which are youth-led climate activist groups fighting through community engagement. Through Upward Bound, I've been able to pursue my passion for education by tutoring high school students. Connecting with these students has taught me that there is so much hope for the future. There I can see that the youth do care. They're just being ignored. The talent, passion, and innovation that the youth have must not be underestimated. I am so grateful that I've been able to share my wealth of knowledge and expertise with so many students, and I can't wait to do so more in the future. I bring up my resume not to brag in front of my prospective colleges and employers, but to show you that the education system does work. My father got his GED while in prison, and my mother has been working since the age of 16. I have battled homelessness, depression, and every possible hurdle you could possibly imagine. By any statistic, I was not meant to make it where I am today. Of course, I'm incredibly proud of my own tenacity and my own talent, but it cannot be understated how much my educational institutions have helped me. It's not perfect by any means, but if someone from my background can accomplish so much with just a little bit of support, just imagine what the youth can do if we put our whole weight into education. We currently live in a time where our presidential office does not prioritize education. And that's where the adults need to step in, where all of you need to speak up. The kids can't vote. So let's pass legislation to get more money into the organizations that empower them. And beyond that, support local community colleges that have served the public for generations. Our way out of this seemingly endless tunnel lies in our youth. California has always been a beacon of hope for climate reform, so let's keep acting like it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Okay, and now we're going to move on to higher ed, represented by Bella Santos, who's at UC Berkeley currently. So Bella, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bella Santos. I'm a second year at UC Berkeley, and I'm so grateful to be here and share this space with you all. If there's one thing you should know about me, it's that I'm stubborn. I used to see it as a weakness, but looking back, I realized that my climate moment was recognizing that my stubbornness is exactly what has driven my success in environmental activism. When I was 9, I found out my school wasn't actually recycling the bins that we carefully sorted in class. So instead of accepting it, I started a program where ASB students collected the recycling ourselves. When I was 14, I told my mom I wanted to go vegan for environmental reasons. She said, "All right, but you have to cook all your own meals," thinking that that would deter me. So naturally, I learned how to cook a bunch of plant-based meals and went vegan anyway. That same stubbornness followed me into high school, where I fought for climate justice and ethnic studies. In 2021, I worked with Youth vs. Oil to push my school district to ban neighborhood oil drilling. But in the midst of online school and the pandemic, we got no response. By 2023, I'd learned how to navigate policy, build coalitions, and challenge systems head on. I returned with stronger arguments, a clearer strategy, and more community support. And this time, we won. Our youth-written policy passed. At every step of the way, people told me that's just the way things are. And at every step, I refused to accept that as an answer. Then I got into UC Berkeley, and I saw those same patterns play out on a bigger stage. UC Berkeley loves to flex its sustainability credentials. We call ourselves a climate leader, showcase our student activism in brochures, and raise money off of its reputation. But when students demand real change, the university is nowhere to be found. That's exactly what is happening when we called for fossil fuel dissociation. Administrators told us that's just the way things are, that fossil fuel money is too embedded in research, that the system simply can't change. But Berkeley takes millions each year from fossil fuel companies, not to solve the climate crisis, but to control the narrative, greenwash their reputations, and block real solutions. Meanwhile, Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities face the environmental justice consequences of fossil fuel extraction. Polluted air, contaminated water, rising sea levels displacing entire communities. So here's how me and my community are fighting back. I'm co-leading a campaign at Berkeley where we're educating peers and rallying support, building a coalition of professors and students who pledge not to accept fossil fuel money. We're pushing for transparency, demanding an oversight committee of incoming funding, just like the UC system has for the tobacco industry. And we're organizing direct actions, disrupting spaces, holding demonstrations, and making it clear we will not let this issue be ignored. Because a university that claims to fight for climate justice cannot continue taking money from the industries that are fueling the crisis. At every step, people told me that's just the way things are, and at every step, I refused to accept that as an answer. We should refuse to accept that as an answer. So I know that I'm speaking to a room full of leaders, policymakers, educators, people with power, people who shape the world that my generation is inheriting. So let me be clear. Young people are not just the leaders of tomorrow, we are the leaders today. We are leading climate strikes, we are rewriting policies, we are exposing corporate greenwashing, and we are pushing for justice that institutions have failed to deliver. And we are not waiting for permission, but we shouldn't have to do it alone. If you are in this room, you have power, not just to support youth, but to listen, fund, and uplift the work they are already doing. The people who have changed history, who have fought for justice, for climate action, for a better world, refused to back down. They didn't wait for permission. They saw what needed to be done and they did it. So now it's your turn. I'm calling on you to be stubborn with us because the world is full of people who will say that things can't change. So be the person that proves them wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Bella. And thank you to everybody for that first round, for that first amazing round. And now we're going to move to the Q&A with Dr. Marianne Wolf. So Marianne, are you ready?
I'm ready. I feel like wanting to repeat something from every single one of the panel. Like Andrew, I am humbled by being part of all of you. I'm actually going to begin with something at the last summit meeting at the Vatican that Pope Francis said. Children are a sign of hope and life, but also a diagnostic marker indicating the health of the entire world. This morning, I counted almost one half of the speakers from Kenya to Boston to California spoke about the role of youth. And when we hear our youth in these panels today, we understand the great strength that is being brought. Now, I want to ask Zach and Ananya, what would you ask the members of this summit and other educational leaders? What would you ask them to do to propel climate change education? Ananya, will you begin?
Sure, this is great. What I would say is that the effects of climate change impact every single part of our lives. For example, the Palisades fire that hit Los Angeles in the past month was the biggest economic disaster in history, and it was a climate problem. But it also had to do with political controversies, building codes, and every other part of our lives. If we are going to solve this problem and engage everyone who needs to be motivated, we can't keep calling it climate education or climate problems, because when we name it this way, we limit the potential impacts it could have on everyone in every aspect. We have to rebrand it and cultivate a new culture that's integrated into everything we think about. We have to show the world that it's a climate problem with a holistic solution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Zach, how about you?
I would ask to make learning about the environment and climate change a regular part of our school week at school for all ages. It would be great to engage more in hands-on projects and experiments throughout the school year, demonstrating how actions like recycling, conserving water, or reducing energy can significantly impact our planet. Additionally, involving families in these activities would be great because kids could have conversations at home and have their parents get involved as well. Lastly, I urge you to advocate alongside us, not just for us. Support policies and initiatives that protect our future, especially in areas like environmental sustainability, education, and justice. This way, we can all learn together how to better care for our planet.
Wonderful. Both of you did absolutely wonderful answers for us. Now, I'm going to actually quote Governor Newsom before I give you this question. He talked about the great implementation. And what we so often see in disciplines is research without action. Andrew and Bella, I'd like to ask both of you, what could help move our youth and adults from acknowledging the issues around climate and action, implementation? Andrew, why don't you begin?
Will do, Miriam. Thank you so much. And I think it's such a powerful question, right? We have this already passion, this knowledge, and this drive, but how can we get this kickstarted? And it's very, very topical in the work that I do. I've done a lot of work in high schools, and I work in a community college for the community, and we see it a lot where this barrier to entry and this sort of high academic issue is really, really hard to overcome for a lot of people. Honestly, they know a lot, but it seems so shameful, right? Oh, like I'm making so many mistakes and I'm so shameful. So I think a lot of what our academic institutions can do is ease that barrier to entry. For example, at the Climate Center, we're doing this beautiful summer internship program where we are allowing students with the bachelor's, with the master's in high school, actually, get into internships that are blue and green jobs, which I think is absolutely incredible. We are allowing people who have already set their path in their career take a pivot off a dirt road into a forest, if you like my metaphor. And we are currently looking for more and more host sites to get these students in. We're planning on hosting or giving 100 students paid internships, which is an incredible opportunity for all people. So I think definitely having academic institutions ease that barrier is the most important thing to get that ball rolling.
Wonderful. Trees, I see, came again in your answer. I love it. Bella, how about you?
Kind of like Andrew just said, I think that one of the biggest barriers to action isn't necessarily a lack of knowledge, but it's the overwhelming weight of it. My generation is constantly exposed to like climate disasters, political inaction, and worsening environmental injustices. So it's really easy to feel like climate is just too big of a problem to solve, and it leads to a lot of paralysis rather than action. Like on my own campus, I've seen so many incredible climate organizers burn out and step away just because there aren't enough mental health resources to support them. And I've seen that retention in climate spaces is declining, not because people don't care, but because the emotional toll is a lot to bear alone. So that's why I think we don't just need education, we need community spaces where young people can process eco anxiety, build resilience, and just sustain each other in this fight. We need adult allies who recognize that supporting our mental health is just as important as supporting climate policy. Because if we want to move from acknowledgement to action, we have to make sure that young people aren't just informed, we have to make sure that they're still present and willing to be here. But yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Bella. These are just wonderful answers. All of you are making me or reminding me of what H.G. Wells said, that human history has become more and more a race between education and catastrophe. You're all making me think of that. And Grace and Willem, I want to turn to you and ask you what you are doing, each of you, in your schools to prepare for some of these climate challenges, especially both of you facing them here in LA. Grace, will you begin for us?
Yes. At UCLA Lab School, we are doing many things to help prevent climate change now and in the future. In our Ice Team Lab, we are exploring the negative impacts of fast fashion on the environment. Fast fashion is a business model in the fashion industry that focuses on producing a lot of clothes for low prices that aren't of good quality. While fast fashion makes stylish and more affordable clothing accessible, it is often criticized for its environmental impact, poor labor conditions, and contribution to over-consumerism. Some impacts fast fashion has on our planet are water waste and ocean pollution, such as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Did you know it takes about 2,700 liters of water to make one cotton shirt? That's enough water for a person to drink for 2.5 years. Apart from learning the negative effects fast fashion has on our environment, we are taking action by upcycling old clothes and repairing ripped or damaged clothing instead of buying new ones. We plan to educate people about the negative impact fast fashion has on our world so that they can be more aware when making clothing choices. Our goals are learning about and promoting sustainable fabrics such as organic cotton, hemp, or bamboo. Also, writing letters to clothing brands asking for more sustainable practices and partnering with organizations working on textile recycling. It will also be necessary for schools to integrate fast fashion into their curriculums. Imagine a world where all schools make a pledge, where students and teachers commit to making more sustainable fashion choices. Wouldn't that be great? So next time you have a rip in your clothes or a lost button, don't throw it away. Instead, consider repairing it and keeping it for many more years to come. Our planet depends on it. Thank you. Gracias.
That's inspiring for all of us, Grace. Willem, will you end this part of our session?
Yeah, so my school, the UCLA Lab School, has taught us to think critically and practically about real-world issues surrounding climate and sustainability. We are lucky to be in a very nature-centered environment and to have a curriculum that emphasizes these issues with hands-on projects each year. One of my favorite projects we are working on is one we are working on right now. In my particular group, we are assessing the impact of greenhouse-grown plants versus plants grown traditionally outdoors. We live in a world that experiences climate instability, so it is important to find ways to improve our food supply by predictable means. Other topics we are considering is how this impacts the need for pesticides. The more we can control for pests, climate, and pollution, the better our crops will be for us and the environment. There are places around the nation right now that are also growing hydroponic food indoors, a method that uses up to 10 times less water than traditionally grown crops. This has created a more controlled environment for places that are either too hot or too cold. Sometimes they're called vertical gardens, but they are really great concepts and can also introduce fresh-grown foods into difficult places. I believe science and creativity can help us with climate challenges we face, such as the droughts, fires, and storms that plague us in our modern world. We are learning how important it is to be able to adapt in a thoughtful and purposeful way. Our school emphasizes community and the people who make up that community, so a compassionate and equitable approach are just as important. Thank you for the chance to be here today. It has been an honor, and I hope to continue to be a part of the climate conversation with you all.
Fantastic, all of you. Karen, as I hand this over to you, I can't help but think of another quote, and this one is from Tolkien, that this panel embodies what he said, to rekindle hope in a world that's grown chill. What a group to give us all that rekindled hope. So Karen, I turn it back to you.
That's a perfect quote, Marianne. Thank you for that. Okay, we have a couple of announcements to make. Dr. Ramanathan asked us to think about things that we might want to share with everyone. So I have one, and then Ananya and our guest, Jerry Song, are going to share some information about one that they want to share with everybody. So, so I'm excited to share that at the end of March, just 5 weeks from now, 10 Strands, in partnership with the San Mateo County Office of Education, community writing teams, and subject matter experts, will be publishing state-supported, free climate, environmental justice, climate change and environmental justice curriculum units for every grade K through 12. The curriculum will be called Seeds to Solutions. We've talked a lot about solutions today. So the curriculum will be called Seeds to Solutions. It will provide a 2 to 3 week in-depth interdisciplinary unit focused on California-specific environmental issues and solutions. We're also working really hard right now. So for the adults in the room that have some influence, we're working hard right now to secure funding for professional learning opportunities to support teachers in using these materials. So you can learn more about the units themselves at 10strands.org. And as I said, we're obviously seeking for support for the implementation of the units with teachers. And now I will hand it off to Ananya so that she can share her news.
Thank you so much, Karen. I would like to start by thanking President Drake for announcing the LAUSD licensing agreement, which is what I'm here to talk about. Earlier in this session, I informed you about a 2-week course developed with the University of California on climate solutions, which we'll be piloting in April of 2025 at my high school. During this process, I worked closely with Mr. Scott Fries of the UC Office of the President and Mr. Jerry Song of LA Unified School District, who is now here to share our work.
Thank you, Ananya. And truly, you are an amazing student. Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Song, and I am a STEAM coordinator over climate literacy for the Los Angeles Unified School District. The district passed a board resolution in 2022 that called for climate literacy to be integrated into all grade levels and all content areas. As President Drake and Ananya just mentioned, LAUSD, with over 500,000 students, has just licensed the UCOP Bending the Curve curriculum to support the professional learning of the district's climate literacy champions and other educators. This college-level curriculum will be shared using the district's learning management system, Schoology, in the LAUSD Climate Literacy Schoology group, which acts as a repository of climate literacy lessons and resources for over 1,800 LAUSD educators. This opportunity all began with Ananya, again, an amazing student, proving that our greatest hope for the future is our incredible students, and every one of them. Like those here today, who our schools and teachers are getting ready for the world. As a first step, Ananya is working with the Division of Instruction to provide an overview of the climate literacy learning resources she developed using the Bending the Curve curriculum for the LAUSD teachers. Thank you, Ananya.
Thank you so much, Mr. Song. My vision is that this important initiative can help to lay the groundwork to eventually enable every high schooler to leverage their unique experiences to be a climate warrior. As a high schooler myself, I am so excited to connect the world-renowned experts of the University of California with high schoolers in my city and empower them to see their role in the solutions. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Ananya. And just as we wrap up here, just thank the audience for joining us today. Much appreciated. And I would just like to extend my thanks again to the students, to Grace and Willem, Zach, Ananya, Andrew, and Bella, and of course to Dr. Wolf for working with us over these last few months in this session. And with that, that's the end of our session, and we look forward to seeing you in the sessions in the afternoon and of course tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. This session is now done, and so if everyone would rejoin the lobby, our next session begins at 3 Pacific. So thank you all again.